Hey everyone, welcome to This Explainer. We're going to do something really exciting today and completely reframe a massive chunk of modern social history. You know the classic latchkey kid, right? For decades, society has basically looked back at that whole era through this lens of pity, painting it as this sad story of neglect. But the source material we're diving into today, it flips that narrative entirely on its head. This isn't a story about kids who are left behind. Instead, we're going to see how this wildly unique environment actually served as the ultimate survival blueprint for the modern world. I want you to really cast your mind back for a second. Do you have that distinct memory of being, say, 7 or 8 years old, walking home from school completely alone with a literal metal key hanging around your neck on a shoelace or a piece of string? The whole adult world was totally preoccupied, stressing over the Cold War or the evening news, and there you were, just casually letting yourself into a dead, empty house. Well, according to the fascinating psychological research we're unpacking today, you weren't just some kid left alone. You weren't neglected. You were actually standing inside one of the most terrifyingly effective psychological training grounds ever built. You were being forged. All right, Section 1, the science of solitude. Let's look at the neurological mechanics. So what exactly happens to a human brain when it's tasked with surviving a random Tuesday afternoon with nothing but a box of cereal and zero adult supervision? It triggers a massive developmental shift known as forced autonomy. Because you were repeatedly put in situations where no adult was physically there to step in or solve your daily problems, your brain didn't just quietly adapt to the silence. It literally rewired itself under pressure. Your prefrontal cortex was forced to boot up and develop way earlier and way more aggressively than a kid who constantly had a parent hovering over their every move. In the neuroscience world, they call this stress-induced neuroplastic reorganization. It's a mouthful, but I absolutely love the tech metaphor the source material uses here. Basically, your brain took the solitary challenges of your childhood and used them as the literal building material to write a much more advanced operating system. You weren't just killing time until 5 p.m. Your brain was hard-coding complex software for your future survival. Moving on to Section 2, bugs turned into features. Let's talk about these neurological upgrades. It's time we dismantle some of the labels society loves to slap on this generation. Because what the outside world points to as these negative, quirky traits, they are actually life-saving upgrades. Take the label anxious, for example. People love to say, you're anxious. But the science tells a totally different story. Because you grew up watching institutions fail and adults make mistakes, your brain built this incredibly high-speed threat prediction circuitry. It's called defensive pessimism. You aren't just anxious, you are actively pre-computing worst-case scenarios. Before you even walk into a meeting room or start a new relationship, your brain has unconsciously simulated every single thing that could possibly go wrong. And the how behind this behavior is super interesting. It comes down to your ventromedial prefrontal cortex hard at work. This specific region of your brain is just constantly maintaining this running model of expected costs versus actual returns. It's the exact reason why when a real crisis hits, you are usually the calmest person in the room. Why? Because while everyone else is absolutely losing their minds, you've already lived through the disaster twice in your head. You've already solved it. Let's reframe another common label. What might look to outsiders like a pathological need for privacy or this sense of ironic detachment is actually an incredibly sophisticated survival tactic: strategic absence and data collection. You literally master the art of being a social chameleon. You can look 100% engaged, just nodding along in a conversation, while your mind is actually reading the room like a human barometer, quietly collecting data on everyone. The source material puts it so perfectly. It says social capital is earned through silence, not constant noise. Think about it. You grew up in the very last era where mistakes were actually made in the dark. There were no smartphones, no cloud backups recording your every awkward move forever, and that specific environment taught you a brutal but highly effective rule of survival. Never give anyone more information than they absolutely need. Your silence makes you observant, it makes you a bit mysterious, and it makes you incredibly valuable in complex social dynamics. Section 3, the bridge generation advantage. Let's look at integrative complexity. By existing right smack in the middle of two entirely distinct technological eras, you possess what psychologists call integrative complexity. You are likely part of the only generation alive today that is fully fluent in both the analog and digital worlds. Like, you distinctly remember the physical weight of a rotary phone, but you're also the exact same generation that quite literally built the internet we're all using today. You seamlessly transitioned from making mistakes in the dark to navigating a world where the cloud records everything forever. And this fluency gives you an unparalleled level of cognitive flexibility. You can switch mental frameworks effortlessly because your entire life has just been one long masterclass in constant adaptation. And because of that unique background, you retain this incredibly rare superpower today, the absolute power of sitting with a massive, complex problem in total solitude until it is finished. While younger generations are pretty much totally optimized for digital distraction at this point, your latchkey brain completely remembers how to focus intensely in dead silence. You just don't need a constant drip of stimulation to push through a barrier. Section 4, the kryptonite. Let's talk about compulsive self-reliance. Now, we have to be real here, because this highly effective survival blueprint carries a seriously heavy downside. The exact mechanism that kept you safe can easily turn into a trap. We're talking about compulsive self-reliance. When you're so used to being your own primary caregiver and your own problem solver, the simple act of asking someone else for help can genuinely feel like an existential failure. It literally fights against your deepest neurobiological programming. There's a line from the text that just hits so hard. Performing so well on the outside that nobody thinks to check if you're breaking on the inside. Wow, that is the true emotional weight of carrying around this invisible, hyper-independent armor every single day. Because you are just so terrifyingly competent, people naturally assume you have it all handled. And tragically, you'll often refuse to seek support during times of crisis because that old forced autonomy just kicks right back in. You isolate when you should be reaching out. Section 5, built to last. The finished foundation. But let's zoom out and look at the long-term triumphant trajectory of the latchkey brain, because this is amazing. Researchers have actually found that your crystallized intelligence, which is essentially your deep acquired library of patterns, your knowledge, your contextual judgment, it actually continues to climb and get stronger well into your 60s. While other cognitive functions in the general population might start to plateau, your specific mental architecture just keeps getting sharper. Think of it this way. For a lot of your peers who were heavily supervised, their early success was built on a lot of fragile scaffolding. Parents, teachers, constant structures propping them up. When a true life crisis hits and that scaffolding is removed, they can completely collapse. But the latchkey mind? Your brain was built on a finished, concrete foundation of pure resilience. You didn't have scaffolding. You poured the concrete yourself. Your psychological architecture is literally a long-term savings plan for thriving in absolute chaos. And I think this brings us to the ultimate takeaway from today's explainer. Seriously, stop feeling like you somehow missed out on a normal childhood. Never, ever let anyone say your solitude was a weakness. You are the generation that taught itself how to thrive while being forgotten. You were forged in a workshop of solitude that most people today could not even begin to survive. So, I want to leave you with this provocative question, and I'm speaking directly to that inner 7-year-old letting themselves into a quiet, empty house. Did you have a key on a string, and how has that forced autonomy shaped exactly who you are today? I really want you to reflect on that. Celebrate the incredible resilience you built in the quiet, and recognize that silent savage inside of you. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer, and keep thriving out there.